Well, good evening to everyone listening out there. This is the Carolina Weather Discussion Severe Weather Coverage Broadcast. As many of you know, we were expecting some severe storms later this evening, and we have a few approaching the North Carolina mountains at this time. The strongest storm was near Johnson City, Tennessee, kind of near Bristol Motor Speedway, but it's got a tornado warning on it right now, but it's started to weaken a little bit. I'm going to loop the radar here, and you can see it's become a little less pronounced over the last, say, 30 minutes or so as it's moved southeast. And moved into the Johnson City area. The hook has kind of gone away, but the rotation is still there. Usually when you see red and green together on a radar screen, it's not a good thing. It means there's some rotation in the cell, and it's what we worry about for a potential tornado. So that's going to be one of the storms we're tracking as it moves southeast towards the North Carolina mountains. It's going to be heading towards Mitchell and Avery counties, maybe clipping a little bit of Watauga County up there, and then eventually Caldwell and Burke counties as it continues its track toward the southeast. We have more storms out towards the west near Huntsville, Tennessee, Tazewell, Tennessee. Those storms are also moving southeast, but they're about another hour, maybe 3 hours away from breaking into the mountains. The storm in Johnson City is going to be our biggest concern for about the next 30 minutes or so as it continues to track off towards the southeast. So the National Weather Service has been tracking these storms too. They've put a 40% chance for a tornado watch to be issued for some of the North Carolina counties, mainly in the northern portion of the state. And let's share a different screen with you here. Let's share the, that's not what I want to share. Let's see, I want to share GR Earth with you so you can see the, it doesn't come up, so I'll bring it up here instead. So as we go over the next, say, every hour or two, the Storm Prediction Center is going to be monitoring this area in the northern portion of the state for a potential tornado watch, especially as that storm breaks into the mountains. That's what they're concerned of, the potential for some isolated tornadoes as the storm moves off towards the southeast. So there's the map and the discussion from the Storm Prediction Center. Mainly the area circled in red is what we are expecting to be the highest chance to have a watch issued later this evening. Remember, tornado watch means that conditions are favorable for the development of severe weather, including large-scale damaging winds and an isolated tornado. As the storm moves southeast, we're going to have to see what happens to it as it tracks southeast, whether the mountains interrupt it at all or whether it continues its strength as it pushes through the North Carolina mountains and the Tennessee mountains over into Avery, Mitchell, and eventually Watauga counties as well. So that's something we'll be watching later this evening, especially probably close to around 6:30 or so as it moves into the far northwestern counties of North Carolina. That'll be something we watch as it tracks southeast. So where would you want to go if we were to see a tornado tonight? Well, the safest place is always going to be the most interior portion of your house, center room, hallway, bathroom, or closet away from windows. And we've got a graphic that shows this perfectly and where you want to shelter. Our friend Brad Panovich over at NBC Charlotte came up with that a year or so ago. He made this graphic, and it's a great graphic. It shows you where the best places are in your house and where the worst places are. So the red areas are where you're not going to want to be. Second story, third story of your house, anywhere with an exterior wall. But the best place is going to be the center portion of your house. A lot of times that's a bathroom because it has most walls between the outside to use as possible, and the piping of a bathroom usually helps to provide a little bit more shelter as well. If you have a basement, that's even better, but many people don't have basements in the North Carolina areas. A lot of homes were built without those, and so your safest place is usually that most interior room. You're going to want to be on the lowest level of your home or business. You're going to want to put as many walls between you and the outside as possible, and we've learned in the past few years that if you wear a helmet, it can really help to protect yourself from any type of flying debris that gets picked up in the tornado and any type of head trauma, because most tornado deaths over the past, say about 20 or so years, or even throughout all the years we've been keeping track, we've learned have been caused by head trauma. So whatever you can do to protect your head is key when it comes to a tornado. Now, most of the time, tornadoes are radar indicated, and tonight that's what we've been seeing with most of these cells. We haven't had any storms that have been confirmed on the ground. All of these storms have been what we call radar indicated tornadoes, where the National Weather Service Doppler radar has detected some strong rotation in the storm, and as a result, they've gone ahead and issued a tornado warning. And as we'll switch back over the radar here, the Weather Service has continued to see rotation in this storm. near Johnson City, so they've continued the tornado warning down towards the southeast. It borders right up to the Tennessee North Carolina line now. I see Beech Mountain, Banner Elk, Rowan Mountain up there, and Elizabethton up in Tennessee are now under a tornado warning. Beech Mountain not included. I want to make sure I clarify that. Just the areas in the Tennessee side of the mountains are included in that. This is the reflectivity view, or the rain on the storm, and we'll switch over to velocity, and you can see why they continue that tornado warning. There's the green and the red coming together in the potential tornado as it tracks southeast. So if you know anybody near Johnsontown, up towards central Pinecrest, Elizabethton, North Carolina, or Tennessee, excuse me, Watauga, Watauga, Tennessee, give them a call. Tell them that there's a possible tornado heading their way. Eventually, areas near Hampton will probably be impacted by this potential tornado. And as I said before, it's a radar-indicated tornado. It hasn't been spotted by anybody, or no trained weather spotters have. Well, I take that back. I read the warning, and this is now a confirmed tornado near Oak Grove, moving southeast at 35 near Johnson City. Areas impact include Johnson City, Kingsport, Bristol, Elizabethton, Jonesboro, Midway, Oak Grove, Spurgeon, Central, Hampton, Pinecrest, Gray, Colonial Heights, Bluff City, Watauga, Tennessee, Milligan College, and Rowan Mountain. So all those areas now under a tornado warning for a confirmed tornado by Doppler radar, which is, I assume they found some type of debris. Yep, right there. See the little blue that popped up? That's what we call debris being picked up by the tornado and lofted in the air to where the radar can see it. So that's why the Weather Service has gone ahead and called this a confirmed tornado now, tracking southeast towards Johnson City and Elizabethton, Tennessee. That'll be moving into those areas probably the next 10 to 15 minutes or so. So if you know anybody up in those areas, give them a call and let them know that there is a confirmed tornado heading their direction. So the plan for tonight is we're going to do live updates at the bottom and top of the hour, 30 minutes, and at the top of the hour. So once storms make it into North Carolina, we're going to continue continuous coverage of those storms, and any warnings that come out, we'll be sure to let you know. So we're going to go ahead and break this off for me personally until 6:30. We'll have another update coming up. At that time, we'll continue to let the radar stream in the background, though, and let you see where these storms are heading as they continue to track southeast towards the mountains. We may have a few other of our panel members drop in from time to time. Daniel was dealing with some Burke Weather's administrative stuff, but he'll be in here very shortly to give you another update, and I'll be back towards the bottom of the hour to give you a full update.
Hey, Ricky.
I'm here. I got you.
Me and Scotty just did the cut-in for our local stuff. He's been reading the Morristown chat. Apparently, there's a confirmation of a tornado in Johnson City.
Yeah, I saw that on the warning there near Oak Grove, near Johnson City. And I can believe why, looking at the radar image.
Oh, yeah, that's impressive. And, we were kind of spreading it to our people that, the mountains may knock out the low levels initially, but I'd say for Avery, Burke, and Caldwell, at the very least, you're going to have potential hail core because there's reports in that area of tennis ball to baseball size hail in the last hour or so. The big question will be what's going to happen when it gets, if that storm makes it all the way across and its structure stays pretty similar, what's going to happen when that thing gets to the Blue Ridge? Is that going to try to reestablish itself on the lower levels?
Mm-hmm. I'm going to drop out for just a few minutes, and then I'll be back towards 6:30 here.
Okay, me too.
I'll let you take it over. Okay.
Chris is working tonight at EOC. Okay. And it starts.
So, can I ask what's happening over there?
Oh, but
He's probably not listening to me.
So, as several of you probably just heard from Scotty Sirens over at Burke Weather, the Weather Service has gone ahead and issued a severe thunderstorm warning southeast into portions of Avery County, including Sugar Mountain, Banner, Elk, Newland, Crossnor, Elk Park, Beech Mountain, all those areas under a severe thunderstorm warning now for this thunderstorm moving southeast, capable of producing some quarter-sized hail. However, the biggest threat from this storm will be the risk of a tornado as it continues to track southeast. The Weather Service has warned for that possibility as it tracks southeast. There's the hail core northwest of Avery County. And then as this continues to track southeast, we're going to watch this rotation here to see if it continues to be pronounced as it moves into Avery County. So a severe thunderstorm warning now for Avery County up until 7:15 tonight for this thunderstorm moving out of Tennessee into the North Carolina mountains. Seven Devils, Banner, Elk, Newland, Crossnor, Elk Park, Beech Mountain, all those areas under the gun for a thunderstorm capable of producing some quarter-sized hail. And, of course, damaging winds as well. And the possibility of a possible tornado as it continues to track southeastward. Daniel, are you back on here?
Yeah, I'm back on. Just got that. I got a little scanner in my living room and I heard it go off. Hey, that sail, if you just look at it on radar, it looks good. Now, you know, this is the problem you start running into when you get into our high country counties. You start getting kind of some weird looks on radar, especially when it comes to velocity. And I know, from the National Weather Service, it's hard to try to pull the trigger on whether it's a tornado warning or severe thunderstorm warning. But I think the key thing we need to look at over the next half hour or so is, does this storm remain impressive looking on radar? Does it keep a good structure? Because, and you know, Scotty, I see he's on here. We was talking about a few minutes earlier, alerting our local viewers. This looks like a kind of situation where the storms aloft can hold its structure pretty well. And, you know, what's going to happen after these storms exit the mountains. But, you know, if you're in Avery County right now, you got to prepare for strong winds. And with the history of hail that these storms have been putting down, I got to believe some people in Elk Park and Newland are probably going to see some hail at some point in the next half hour at most.
hey guys, can you hear me?
I have you. Yep.
This just in from Chris White, our chief meteorologist. He's working emergency services in our county tonight, and they have been told that a tornado has been spotted on the ground moving into Avery County. That is from emergency services in Avery County.
Okay. Well, there's no storm. I'm assuming they mean the storm further west has the tornado on it, because the storm near Elizabethton has a confirmed tornado on it right now, and that is the storm that's moving southeast towards Avery County. But at the moment, there is no tornado anywhere in Avery County.
Yeah, that storm is moving into the Avery County line right there at the line. It's not yet into Avery County, but the storm moving into Avery County does have a confirmed tornado on it.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that a little bit there.
Well,
Daniel,
that's a little nervous for me.
you were talking about the storm being disrupted as it moves through the mountains. I took a 3D slice of it here, and you can see how the storm's been performing, and quite honestly, it doesn't look like it's being disrupted too much. It's got a nice updraft that just blew up here on the last scan. You can see the hail core in the red there being lifted aloft, and some pretty strong updrafts being brought up into the storm as well. So I can definitely see why they have the hail threat on there, and nice and tilted, so it's got updraft sustaining itself. Usually when thunderstorms are more straight up vertically, that's when we worry about them collapsing in on themselves because they don't have any strong updrafts going. This one looks pretty good.
I agree. It does look pretty good. You know, me and Scotty were talking about it earlier. At least the saving grace for maybe the lowest levels of the atmosphere, and I'm thinking of Avery County, is maybe the mountains will block off the lowest levels, and maybe that actual tornado touchdown, maybe it'll lift back up in the next few minutes. But yeah, great structure, and it's amazing for this time of the year the kind of structure that we're getting. I mean, you know, normally in the summer, like you said, things grow just straight up vertically due to, you know, surface instability and storms form and then they collapse. But you can tell this ain't our normal summer setup around here.
Mm-hmm. So Daniel, let's go ahead and back on off here and give everyone a wide view of what's going on. We've got that one cell there in Johnson City that we're concerned about as it moves into Avery County. We've got two more cells further northwest, and those are the cells if you live anywhere near Madison County, Haywood County, Mitchell, Swain counties. You're going to need to watch later tonight as they continue to track off towards the southeast. They've got to make it considerable distance, you know, before they reach there, and they're going to be losing the sunshine, so not so sure they'll make it there be able to sustain themselves, but we're going to have to watch those as they continue to track southeast as well. Eventually, the Asheville area, Waynesville, Marshall, Burnsville, Marion, perhaps continuing to see the risk for some strong thunderstorms later tonight. And you notice as well on the last scan of the radar, there are some showers popping up now northwest of Marion, tracking off slowly to the southeast. They're kind of having trouble getting going so far. They're kind of forming and dissipating, but it wouldn't shock me to see some more storms form further west and then track southeast even after this one near Johnson City moves through.
Yeah, I'm looking at what's going on up in Virginia right now, southwest Virginia. That area's really flared up in the last half hour west of Abingdon. But, you know, like I said, the other storms in East Tennessee, if they can hold together, you know, they could potentially affect a little bit farther down the Appalachian chain, maybe 8:30 this evening. I tell you, you know, this morning when we had that dying MCS from yesterday across the apps, and it left some cloud cover over western North Carolina, and you know, I thought initially this morning that might actually do a good job at keeping the severe levels down for western North Carolina, but it was amazing how this afternoon the skies just cleared after about noon, and temperatures just took off. Most everybody in the western Carolinas, or at least western North Carolina, was upper 80s to around 90, and central Carolinas maybe even a little bit cooler because they got a little bit of rain earlier in the day. And yeah, like you're showing that screen share, look at all that cape that's lined up still just east of the mountains. The thing that worries me, Ricky, and I'm going to focus again on what's going on, I guess that's probably close to Roan Mountain right now.
Yeah, well, tornado watch looks like it's about to be issued for western North Carolina.
Yeah, that's gonna be all the way down to the Mecklenburg County line, Catawba County line, actually.
What just
Stand
scares
by
me
for loud,
about that. I'm
stand by
sorry.
for loud sirens from Scotty's office.
Hey, what's up?
In fact, I'm going to mute him. All right, so as Scotty mentioned, we have a tornado watch now that's been issued for western North Carolina. It'll pop up here on the map in a second. We'll give you a visual where that is, but it's going to go until 1 a.m. tonight, and it's going to be for those cells moving out of the area into eastern North Carolina. Doing a little bit of Twitter work here.
Hey, while you're getting that ready, Ricky, what I was going to mention a minute ago is there's a lot of cape that ended up building up right against the eastern slope of the mountains this afternoon, and it really warmed up quick. And my worry is that the cell over Johnson City, if it can keep its structure, it's going to be able to tap into that about 8 o'clock this evening, and that could be a potential problem for the Foothills.
Yeah,
that and the cell that's probably about 40 to 50 miles west of Morristown. That's the two most impressive looking cells on radar. And if they can make it across, we're going to be potentially looking at some problems, I think, later this evening.
yeah, even if we get more storms to pop up east of the mountains too, that could be another concern.
Yeah, that's my biggest fear is seeing what thunderstorms may pop up as they come off the mountains.
Everything is going off here. All right, so if you're just joining us, the Weather Service has issued a tornado watch for the eastern or the western portion of the state of North Carolina. Basically, it's going to go from the Mecklenburg-Catawba County line up northward into Virginia and include basically all of western North Carolina for these three supercells that are moving south portions of the North Carolina mountains and the North Carolina Piedmont. This is the storm we're watching right now, heading towards Avery County, North Carolina, that we're concerned about with the potential for a tornado. There's already a confirmed tornado on that cell right now, actually back to a possible tornado, I should say, near Hampton, Elizabethton moving southeast at 35. So we're concerned whether the storm's going to make it through the mountain, and if it does, what impact it has on Avery County. So let's just say that a tornado warning is issued for Avery County. What are you going to want to do? Well, you're always going to want to go towards the lowest floor of your house, the most interior room, probably a hallway, bathroom, or closet. You're going to want to put as many walls between you your region, and it's not streaming. That's the wrong one. That's the picture I want. Is a great place to be if a tornado were to approach your region, because they offer the best protection. You have the most walls between you and the outside as possible. If you have a basement, that's even better, but most people around here don't have a basement, or they don't have room in your house. We usually do pretty well in the event of a tornado. And you're going to want to try to grab maybe the kid's bicycle helmet, your motorcycle helmet, if you're a pilot, your flying helmet, put it on and protect your head from flying debris. Don't have any helmets around, get blankets, pillows, mattress, cover your head, because most deaths and injuries in tornadoes come from head trauma. So whatever you can do to protect your head is the number one thing that you should be concerned about in the event of a tornado. So there's the map now for the tornado watch. Basically, as I said, it includes Concord, Charlotte area, Shelby, Lenoir, Hickory, Statesville, into Asheville. All those areas now under a tornado watch until 1 a.m. this morning, and that's an interesting cell north of Asheville. We'll have to watch that to see if it blows up as it tracks southeast.
Yeah, and if you're watching in Western North Carolina right now, one of two things. I'm going to try to get this the link up for those who have not seen the link before. But this storm is producing a lot of lightning. Several lightning strikes now occurring over Caldwell County, and that's well ahead of the storm that's coming in. So be cautious of that. Of a lot of lightning. And guys, I don't know if I've been in and out and stuff, but I don't know if you guys have mentioned all the reports of large hail in eastern Tennessee. I mean, we was getting tennis ball, baseball size reports hail throughout the Tri-Cities area.
Yeah, that was something the Storm Predictor Center I know was worried about earlier today. Some very big hail, and with supercell, Scotty, I guess it makes sense you're going to see some really large hail out of them.
Yeah, definitely. It's just a lot of people that myth that tornadoes and supercells and stuff don't affect mountains. Well, right now I'm watching WCYB's coverage of the tornado that's affecting Roan Mountain going into Beach Mountain right now. So crazy stuff.
Mm-hmm. Here's some on Twitter. I'm going to share an image from Jim Cantori. Some hail that fell in Kingston, Tennessee. Looks like tennis to baseball sized hail there. Whew, that is big. I do not want that anywhere near my house. And I think there was another picture that showed up of some hail a little bit earlier as well, but that's just some big hail there.
Looks like we got a new tornado on there, Scotty, for that storm I was talking about a few minutes ago around Abingdon. That's going to hit the Bristol area.
Yeah, you're right, Daniel. That's interesting too because that just shows me that storms are building behind this initial supercell because that area was fairly clear just 30 minutes or so ago.
Yeah, it hadn't taken long for that to really take off. And looking at Morristown radar, also see a warning for Morristown area right now, close to the radar site. Cox, Jefferson, Granger, Hamlin County. That's a little 730. And those are, I tell you, I've not really paid all that much attention to now. Those are three nice looking cells from just to the west of Morristown all the way back, not far from, say, Fentress County.
And Daniel, one thing that I'm looking at right now looks like there may be a new storm forming over Raytown and Greenville, Tennessee. The radar's starting to show a little bit of color on that, and that would track it towards McDowell County. And as Ricky said, we're going to really have to watch this thunderstorm over Weaversville. That's going to be tracking over McDowell County, and that thing's pulsed up fairly fast, fairly it looks fairly strong as well.
Yeah, that has picked up in the last few minutes. I'll be setting more for our viewers in McDowell County because, like you
Yeah,
said, this stuff is going pretty quick.
yeah,
I'm still impressed, honestly, looking at the sale that's now entering into North Carolina into Avery County. Man, that thing's held a good structure. I'm really
okay, Daniel,
surprised.
Daniel, I hate to interrupt you. Looking at coverage right now in Kingsport, Tennessee, of multiple homes being destroyed by a tornado, an apparent tornado that has moved through Kingsport, Tennessee.
Wow, that might be the worst damage we've had all day because I don't remember many of the sales when they were back in Kentucky even getting a confirmation. So the
Yeah,
timing on this has been amazing.
this is from our affiliates at WCYB up in the Tri Cities area. In fact, we're going to be having Chris Michaels on our Carolinas broadcast, our Carolinas weather group discussion in the next couple of weeks. So I'm sure he can tell us about that event. But right now, does look like a confirmation of a tornado did touch down in Kingsport, Tennessee. That is the same cell that is moving into Avery County right now. And while I'm talking, Daniel and I, we've got four counties to cover. So I know some of the other guys have dropped out here and there. So we are going to have to update McDowell County and Caldwell County, as well as speak with some emergency advisors. So if we drop out for the next little bit, please stay tuned, and we'll pick up coverage here in just a little bit. Tornado warning for Avery County. I repeat, tornado warning for Avery County. Hey, Mike. Park. Elk Park. Hey, Daniel, Elk Park. Daniel, Elk Park is where the tornado is located.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the radar, it looks pretty close to where it'd be located. I just left my car windows down. I rolled them up right quick because that stuff, we were talking about a minute ago, close to Asheville's fair enough. But again, I'm gonna go back and just mention, like I've mentioned for the last few minutes, the structure on that storm has really held together, and for the folks at the Greer office to go ahead and issue a tornado warning, it's pretty legit that there's something going on here.
All right, I'll be there in just a second.
Pull up a screen share here for those who are watching. I don't know if you can see it. That's a pretty good couplet right there, right on Elk Park right now. Put a little track on it. Moving to the southeast. I mean, if you're in Elk Park, Newland in the next few minutes, maybe between Newland and Grandfather, I don't know exactly how that's dropping down. Probably actually right over Newland, and maybe Linville eventually. You got to prepare and head for shelter right now, be in a safe place, and because this, it's a pretty good signature for this part of the country to get a tornado warning. So definitely take it seriously right now if you're in Avery County.
Yeah, and Daniel, I'll jump back in here and take over for a few minutes. I was in the middle of dinner and I heard the alarms go off, and I figured something was going on. But as they've been covering, there's a tornado warning now for Avery County that's going to go until 7:30 tonight. The storm was located basically over Beach Mountain, actually a little bit south of that, moving southeast to 40. So we'll switch to the velocity that Daniel was just showing. This is off the Knoxville radar. And the velocity is right back here towards the Elk Park area. That's where the storm tornado would be. And as it tracks off towards the southeast, it'll be affecting areas like Sugar Mountain, Grandfather Mountain, Linville, Newland, Elk Park, Banner Elk. Probably the areas most at risk from this possible tornado as it tracks off towards the southeast. We'll switch back over to the other radar here, and I'll bring mine up, and we'll show you a few things, and we'll give you another reminder of where you're going to want to go in the event of a tornado. We're always going to want to go towards the lowest floor, interior room, hallway, bathroom, or closet. Usually a great place to be. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. That helps protect yourself from any exterior damage the tornado may cause, any flying debris that it will throw into your house right through your window and go into the room where you're at. It will keep you protected from any of those things flying around outside. The other main thing is that if you're in a mobile home, you got to get out of there. Mobile homes in tornadoes are death traps, and you guys know this area better than I do. I don't know if there's any large mobile home communities up there, but in our area we have a few of them, and it's one of the worst case scenarios we think about. And people always say that tornadoes hit mobile homes. It's not exactly the case. They don't go looking for mobile homes when they're on the ground. It's just that the worst damage usually occurs in mobile home communities because of how they're not the strongest buildings around, so they usually make the news because it's the worst damage area. So that's another concern we'll have. And if you're traveling along some of these roads in western North Carolina, you're also going to want to make sure you seek a safe place. If you know anyone traveling, tell them to go ahead and try to find a building near the area, near the road that they're on. Tell them to go inside a local business. They'll probably let you in and tell them that there's a tornado coming, and they'll seek shelter from that storm until it blows over you. Won't be too long. Eventually, around 7:30, it'll clear Avery County, but then we'll start worrying about it moving into Caldwell and Burke counties, and Scotty and the folks up there will take over once it moves into those counties a little bit later on this evening. In addition to the tornado risk, there's also the risk for probably some small hail now as it moves over the mountains, and just some damaging winds in general aside from the tornado. Is a concern that we have for this storm moving through Avery County.
You know one thing, Ricky, about this storm, and I think it was mentioned earlier when I was at touchdown in Tennessee. Of course, you know, here in the eastern part of the U.S., a lot of your tornadoes are rain routes, so that's hard to see. And number two, you're just dealing with high terrain, so you know you're not going to be able to just see the tornadoes. So if you're in this area in Avery County, you know, you need to take what we're telling you, take it seriously, and go ahead and seek those precautions and get in those sturdy area. And you'd mentioned earlier if there were some mobile homes in that area. There's a few. It seems like, especially in the town of Newland, there's some areas where some mobile homes are located. But you just, you know, you got to take this serious. Just looking at the radar and the way it looks, and with it now into Avery County, you got to take this like the real thing.
A little bit earlier tonight, around 6:47, the Weather Service said that the best radar signature was approaching Elk Park in Avery County around 6:46. So if you live anywhere east of those areas now, kind of southeast of those areas, you're definitely going to want to get into a safe place, most center portion of your house, lowest floor, interior room, hallway, bathroom, or closet. Get out of mobile homes and go into a more substantial shelter, and if as a last resort, take shelter in a ditch or other low-lying area. Cover your head with your hands.
All right. I don't know if you guys can. Yeah, you can hear me. The National Weather Service, they've just issued a special weather statement for Caldwell County. That is with the storm that's over Avery County right now. This is the same thing that they did for the Avery County storm before it went tornado warned. The storm, strong to severe thunderstorm, will affect Caldwell County through 7:45. Right now, the severe thunderstorm is near Seven Devils, or 6 miles northeast of Newland, moving southeast at 45 miles per hour. This thunderstorm has a history of producing damaging winds and large hail. However, some weakening is possible as it moves east of the Blue Ridge. If it does not weaken, the severe thunderstorm warning will be needed. Hey, Ricky, can you hear me? Is Ricky on? Daniel, can you?
I
was going to see if...
I think he's off for now.
I was going to see if NBC Charlotte was doing a live update. I went over to their website and I couldn't find anything. Daniel, that storm that's located over Morristown looks like it's on a run for McDowell and Burke County.
Yeah, it's holding its own pretty well, and I'd say by 8 o'clock it'll be approaching the North Carolina Tennessee line around Hot Springs, and we'll have to see what happens after that.
The dew point is 75 in Morganton.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that, Scott, because I got out this afternoon for a few minutes, and it felt weird, like it just
Very,
doesn't feel like it normally does when the dew point's 70 around here. It was just kind of stifling.
yeah, very ominous feeling outside.
I just want to say I feel like I'm a bandit. I'm smart. I do.
Yeah, Ricky, I'm looking at some of the dual pole data from the Morristown radar, and over Avery County, I don't think the hail core in that area is as extensive as it was earlier over Tri-Cities, but just to the north of Newland and heading over actually between Newland and Banner Elk, there's still a pretty decent hail core in that area. So, you know, if you're anywhere there in that part of Avery County, probably close to 105, and I'm trying to think of the other highway it cuts from Newland over to that Banner Elk area, but probably 105 and I have 194, I believe. There may be some hail in that area right now in that part of Avery County. You know, also looking at the Newland area, just looking at base velocity, I'm going to screen share this right quick. It's pretty impressive, the winds that are showing up on Doppler. You know, even if you don't have rotation or a tornado on the ground, you've got to prepare for some damaging winds, whether it may be straight line. I mean, that's a large area in that yellow there around Newland, 60 to 70 mile per hour winds. Of course, that's pretty far up aloft. I mean, time I look at the radar, looking at the Morristown radar, that's at about 7,400 feet elevation. So, I mean, that's pretty far aloft. Some of that may not be get tapped toward the surface, but again, something to keep an eye on. I'm going to start to access that off the Greer radar and see how it's looking. Actually, you know, if you look at it by Greer's radar, you're even higher up in altitude compared to Morristown. Anyway, you know, regardless, you got to be on the lookout for strong gusty winds, and I got to believe there's some pretty strong winds in that area right now, whether it be straight line or if you know if there's some rotation going on. Regardless, I'd say there's some kind of heavy winds going on in that part of the county.
Let's zoom out for a minute, guys, and take a wide view of everything and show you where all the storms are. Let's put this into motion. And you see most of the storms are tracking southeast. There's kind of a line of storms now from basically Morristown west into Tennessee. All three of those have tornado warnings on them, and they're tracking towards the North Carolina mountains. It'll be about an hour or two before they reach there, but it's going to be a stormy watch. The storm we were tracking into Avery County, you know, it has seemed to kind of weaken a little bit. The structure isn't as good as it was earlier moving through the mountains, but I wonder what it will do when it gets east of here, and then another very strong storm, um, excuse me, east of Bristol, moving towards Mountain City. That storm has a tornado warning on it as well. That'll be tracking towards the southeast, eventually towards Jefferson, probably clipping some portions of Boone and Watauga County. Kind of surprised there isn't a severe thunderstorm warning out on that already, as some of the other Weather Service offices have been doing. Then I want to show you one more thing that just came to my attention. This is a product. Actually, I can bring it up on my own thing here. Let's give me a few minutes, a few moments, and I'll bring it up here. I want to show you something called updraft helicity, which is basically how strong the storm's updrafts are going to be as they move into the area. And this is one of the short-range models we use called the HER. And later tonight, it has a pretty nice system moving across central North Carolina as the storms progress off there. So notice how it has screen share. That would help. Screen share. There we go. Good work. So I'll turn off everything else, and we'll just put helicity on there. So notice how it's got these storms moving across the state. Some pretty good rotation in them. Tracking through some portions of northern Asheville and then towards Greensboro a little bit later this evening. So we're going to have to watch those and see if some more storms fire ahead of the storms that are already out there. So the tornado warning for Avery County now, the Weather Service has continued that warning until 7:30 tonight. They said at 7:02, Weather Service Doppler radar indicated severe thunderstorm with a history of producing large hail and damaging winds and a possible tornado near Linville, moving southeast at 35 miles per hour. Mainly rural areas of eastern Avery County to Linville to the Caldwell County border are going to be impacted by this storm, but it still has the potential to produce a tornado up towards the Sugar Mountain or Crawford Mountain areas as it tracks southeast, eventually into Catawba, or not Catawba, excuse me, Caldwell County and portions of Burke County. Matt, I'm going to bring up that video you just shared.
Get them.
I can get it to come up here. Hang on a second.
Yeah, go for it. My girlfriend just shared it on her Facebook, and it's from Gray, Tennessee. So
This is a video of a funnel cloud. There it is, right there in between the trees. Wow. In eastern Tennessee, where was this at, Matt?
it was in Gray, Tennessee, or near Gray, Tennessee, which is just northwest of Johnson City.
Look at the rain wrapping around there, too.
Yeah, another funnel cloud comes up here in just a minute.
Some pretty distinct rotation, at least in there. So at this time, the Weather Service is not going to continue to extend that tornado into Caldwell County because they don't see as strong of a rotation signature as they did before. They're going to watch it as it continues to track southeast, especially moving into some of the lower portions when it gets away from the mountains into the Piedmont area because conditions may be a little more favorable there later this evening.
Yeah, and if you guys will look, there's a new thunderstorm developing just outside of Bakersville, near Irwin, Tennessee, that is starting to pulse up fairly strong. That's not been there but the last couple of radar frames. So that is something that we'll have to watch as it interacts with the mountains. And if that storm stays on track, it would take it over Burke and McDowell counties. Also, another new tornado warning that's going to be issued that takes it right up to the North Carolina border with Hot Springs and Marshall. Not sure what county that is. Don't know my county's up that way that well, but that's another one. If it keeps its track, that would affect northern Asheville and Weaversville, and then go into McDowell County and then into Rutherford County.
That's going to be for Jefferson, Coke County, I'm assuming, Hamlin, and Greene County, eastern Tennessee.
It's Cobb County.
Cobb County?
Looks like this
Yeah,
version.
Jefferson, Cock, and what was the other one?
Hamlin and Greene.
Yeah, those were it.
All right.
Cockfighting, as in actual cockfighting, that goes on in that area. That's always been a tradition. It's not good, but that's I don't know if that's how they got the name of the county, but yeah, that whole area there.
Yeah, I know people that go to the school right there in Jefferson City. One of them actually sent me a video of a possible wall cloud, and she's trying to send me pictures of while she's just kind of running around storm chasing, in quotes. But they're down there since the storm is almost right on top of the radar site. It's hard for them to kind of see what's happening inside the storm, so I'm trying to pull and extract as much ground data as I can.
I'm telling you guys, I'm watching WCYB's coverage. There's just more tornado warning storms coming into eastern Tennessee. It looks like Jefferson City, Morristown, and then back up towards Damascus, Virginia. That area, another storm affecting that area.
Yeah, almost more tornado warnings than I expected tonight, Scotty.
Yeah, definitely.
Are
currently
there any
7.
areas? Are there any areas in the North Carolina mountains where a storm could go through and it wouldn't be as impacted as, say, if it moved through another area?
I think Mount Mitchell over where Bakersville and Spruce Pine, that's your highest elevation of the mountains. If a storm wanted to come through, let's say Boone and Jefferson, it wouldn't be as spreaded by the mountainous terrain as it would be going in through the central part of the mountains. Daniel, is that what you would think? You're more familiar with that territory than I am.
Just by experience, and I don't want to make any comparison, but if you remember back in the late 90s, the Nashville, Tennessee tornado that occurred, those storms rolled out of Tennessee, and they're really taking, and the only reason why I bring this up, again, I don't want to make comparisons, probably not good to do it, but these storms are making a track, the ones that are in Morristown right now, the warnings that are for Greene County and stuff, sometimes you'll see storms go through that little area right through there, and they cross into Madison and then Buncombe, and they can hold together. If there is a part of the mountain chain that's probably a little bit lower than other areas, it would probably be along the French Broad River Valley, because you got to remember the French Broad River basically runs from Henderson County up through the middle of Asheville and up into Madison County, and it dumps into Tennessee. So elevations are generally a little bit lower right there than in comparison to Mitchell or Avery, or even in comparison to the Smokies over in Swain, Haywood, and Jackson. So if there's one area that it could sneak through, that would be one area potentially from Greenville, Tennessee, down into Madison and Buncombe County.
Yeah, Greenville Spartanburg has dropped the tornado warning for Avery County now, so that has been allowed to expire about 15 minutes earlier than first anticipated. Daniel, I don't know how close you've been watching that storm over Irwin, or just moving out of Irwin now into Bakersville, but that storm has really kind of pulsed up as it's transitioned into the mountainous terrain. So we'll have to see how that storm transitions as it comes off into, it looks like Northwest Burke, and then it would affect Northwest McDowell, Northwest Burke, and then into Caldwell County.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now, Scotty. Like I said, it has kind of picked up a little bit as it come up there on the state line. It doesn't look too alarming right now, but with what's going on, you always got to keep an eye on it. And like you said, probably the far northern tip of McDowell, up around the Ashford area, up around the Linville Caverns area, and then eventually northern Burke County could be affected by that, depending on how strong it gets.
One thing that I like to look at as we're looking at storms is where's the new lightning developing at, and I've seen some activity pulse up around the Marshall area, as well as like we were just talking about Bakersville, and then if you kind of look back to the north of Watauga County over Jefferson, that's a pretty strong cell moving into that area as well.
Hey, that cell up near Jefferson is one I would be concerned about. Sorry, Dana, I didn't mean to jump in on you, but it seems like it's holding its own pretty well as it starts to move into the higher terrain there.
Yeah, I would agree. That cell is a lot like what the Johnson City cell was maybe an hour or so ago. It's holding on pretty good, and I believe that's the Blacksburg office that handles Ashe County and Watauga County, so that'll be up to them as to whether they want to pull the trigger on any kind of tornado warning or if they want to go with a severe thunderstorm warning.
It was funny. Our partner Brad Panovich posted just a couple of days ago of the tornado warnings that were issued for a certain amount of time, and there's one little part in North Carolina that had not been issued a tornado warning, and that was Avery County. And so I guess we can now fill that in on the map, as Avery County just went through a tornado warning.
Hashtag blame Brad, he jinxed us.
That's right. That's right. Looking at a lot of, and I think Matt's girlfriend is up in that area, but a lot of especially just what I'm watching here on the live stream of WCYB, a lot of damage being reported up in the Johnson or up in Kingsport, Tennessee, and in that area, from what appears to be maybe a tornado that did touch down in that area.
Seeing some pictures come out from near Bristol of the tornado damage, or what appears to be tornado damage at least. I'll bring them up here and throw them on this screen. I'm going to change the screen share real quick to where it broadcasts the whole screen. There we go. So it looks like there's some power lines knocked down, and apparently some parts of the home inside the power lines as well. Here, this picture here, you can see whatever that is stuck up there in the power lines. This is coming in from eastern Tennessee, up near the Bristol area. There's now a severe thunderstorm warning for Ashe and Watauga County up in the North Carolina mountains. That's going to go until 8:15 this evening for this storm that's moving out of Mountain City and into some of those northwestern areas. It's going to be central Watauga County and Ashe County until 8:15. There goes Scotty's siren. 60-mile-per-hour winds and quarter-size hail. It's going to be the biggest threat from that storm as it moves southeast. Maybe a little bit larger hail, personally, is what I would say. It's going through that higher terrain, so it's being weakened a little bit, but we'll have to watch and see what they do as they push in the mountains. That storm that moved into Ashe County earlier with the tornado warning, guys, is basically falling right apart now. There's nothing left of it.
Hey, I got a question for Ricky or Scotty. Either one wants to answer it. you know, when we looked at computer models this morning, it kind of gave us a little bit of an idea that these storms would maybe consolidate into a line. And granted, some of that back Tennessee is happening, but we've had two pretty good discrete cells that have kind of been the main feature so far with this event. And of course, you know, as we go later on, things could change. But you guys have a little bit more meteorological background compared to me. Why do you think we went to a little bit more discrete look to the cells today?
Maybe just I don't really have a good answer for you. I'd kind of just be, you know, making up some different scenarios. I guess one reason could be because of the extra sunshine we saw across the area. It allowed the storms to prosper by themselves a little bit more. We kind of expected storms to form further back as a line. We just really didn't see initiation of the cells, honestly, until they got into southeastern Kentucky and down into Tennessee. So it just seems like most of them were able to stay by themselves today and not really get going. The dynamics were a little better for rotating cells instead of just straight line winds. Usually if you want straight line winds, you want a wind profile that has some going down, and then instead of winds from different directions at different levels, which is what we kind of see today across the area. I'm currently in a Twitter fight with somebody over not giving credit to a photographer. Took a picture. He's like, and he's trying to send it to Jim Cantori and a few other folks. But so if you ever send a picture to a local media that you stole from one of their reporters, make sure you give credit so you don't annoy people like me and lots of other people on the Twitter sphere, because they don't like it when you steal pictures.
Tell you, looking at what's going on in East Tennessee right now, back to the west of Tri-Cities, more toward Knoxville. I'm going to pull up screen share. If you look at the velocity here, look how the velocity is really starting to fan out a little bit from just west of Newport to Knoxville. If you're in, you know, Sevierville, Pigeon Forge, or Gatlinburg, that's some probably gust of wind that's going to roll through fairly quick. And that's probably got its eyes set on the mountains of North Carolina, Swain County, Jackson, and Haywood, and probably would include Graham in on that too. Looks like it's trying to bow out a little bit in that part of the storm.
Maybe we're transitioning from more of a tornado threat to a straight line wind threat through that region.
Yeah, I mean, it looks that way. Right here's a little interesting look around Greenville, Tennessee. Hey, you've got all that greens, and then it kind of goes neutral a little bit in that one little area.
Report from Watauga, some, quote, large intense raindrops, but no hail in Banner Elk next to the Mill Pond area.
I think it's going to be interesting to see what this thunderstorm does now that's in Caldwell County. It's finally kind of breaking the containment of the mountain, so we'll have to see what effects that has to the storm, as it's the one that's produced some seems to be tornadic damage in the Kingsport, Tennessee area, and then that even extended up into Kentucky before that. So interesting to see what this storm does once it's now off the mountains per se, about to come into Lenore and Cedar Rock, and then move over into Alexander County.
Is there still a lot of lightning with that, Scotty?
Yeah, it's starting to pulse back up in lightning. The data that I'm seeing here, about 16 to 18 strikes within the last 2 minutes. So I think that's showing you that it's starting to pick up in intensity. It's actually shooting some positive lightning strikes out over Alexander County already, in Taylorsville, and even into Iredell County, the Love Valley area.
Okay.
And it seems like in the last frame, Daniel, you may see this as well. That storm is kind of backbuilt into the Collegeville area. It seems like that part of the storm has got a little bit more stronger this last radar frame.
Yeah.
You don't see this very often. Matt just retweeted this image of a wall cloud right outside the Weather Service office in Morristown.
Wow.
That's a lot of beeps.
Yeah, Scott, kind of piggybacking on what you said a minute ago, I'm sorry I didn't reply back any quicker. I was putting some on the McDowell page. That cell getting close to Lenore look like it's starting to intensify again. And even the cell we talked about earlier that was in Mitchell County, it's quickly worked its way out of Mitchell County into far southern Avery, and it might just nip the northern tip of McDowell, but that storm's kind of picked up a little bit, and the original storm that we've been watching, it's come off the mountain now and starting to pick back up just a little bit, just to northwest of Lenore.
Our buddy that we had on the Carolinas Weather Group just a couple of weeks ago, Chris Justice, getting his county names mixed up in the weather chat's pretty funny to see that. But yeah, Daniel, looking at that storm, I have noticed on one of our radar programs it shows the mesos in a storm, and that storm has picked up in Caldwell County to a number 2 meso. So it didn't have a meso at all on it, just a frame or two ago. So it is starting. It's just showing signs that it's starting to strengthen as it gets off the mountain, and it's getting ready to go into greater Caldwell County.
Yeah, and that was a concern. I'd mentioned a couple times earlier. That's a concern all along. Is if they can hold together, if the structure of the storm can hold together just enough, what happens when the storm potentially gets back into a little bit higher cape, which was here along the eastern slopes of Blue Ridge, there's a little bit higher cape a few hours ago, and now we're getting close to dark. That might have relaxed a little bit, but you can just see it's starting to flare up. So Caldwell County, you cannot dismiss that at all, even though it's weakened. Let's see what happens in the next 15 to 20 minutes, and if the wind does start to pick up on that a little bit, we may see a thunderstorm warning issued on that cell. But
yeah, and this has, well, I'm not going to say any factual scientific stats to what I'm getting ready to say, but that is a notorious spot. Once it comes off of the mountains in Caldwell County, there's been several times that thunderstorms have actually intensified over the Collegeville area and then drops into into Lenore and then to Chesterfield valleys and then into Hickory. In fact, we saw that last year with the severe thunderstorm that hit Collettsville. The microburst that happened over there that dumped about 7 inches of rain and produced 80 to 90 mile per hour winds. So that is an area that we always watch here in the foothills of some thunderstorm development. Once it comes off the mountains, it kind of re-intensifies in that area. I'm not sure why, what it has to do with that area, but sometimes when storms come off the mountains, they really like to intensify over that part of Caldwell County. Again, looking at the damage here on from our friends in Kingsport, Tennessee, they're showing a house right now that's roof has been some of the roof's been ripped off, some of the siding, fences have been blown over, trees blown over. So it does look like an apparent tornado that did touch down in Kingsport, Tennessee. That is the same cell that is now moving into greater Caldwell County.
Yeah, Dan, you were talking about the wind threat towards Pigeon Forge and some areas in the eastern Tennessee mountains towards Gatlinburg. They've issued a severe thunderstorm warning for that now, since the winds seem to be a little more outflow dominant there, heading towards Sevierville, Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg eventually, Pittman Center. Maybe some 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts up through that region as well.
Yeah, I gotta believe that'll probably hold its own pretty well, and eventually, probably in the next hour, you're talking about parts of North Carolina getting in on play with that. They're in the Great Smokies and not far from Cherokee or Bryson City or Fontana Village.
And the guys, that thunderstorm that we're talking about in Caldwell County is just now grown a hail core. So another sign of it starting to strengthen as it comes off of the Blue Ridge over 321 right now, just north of Collettsville.
I switched to a different radar feed here. I have the Morristown radar on it. This is a Greer radar from South Carolina. Scotty, there's the storm you were talking about.
Yes.
I'm going to go bring up some model stuff, and we'll take a look at some things that may happen a little bit later tonight, see what may happen after this first line moves through. This is interesting here, guys. Yeah. Now, so there's mountains, first line. Watch how that northern storm kind of dissipates, and that line comes through the Asheville area. But then watch what happens. Them starts moving through kind of a linear line later tonight.
Can you replay that one more time, Ricky? I was just getting back over to the page.
Here you go. Here's current about an hour ago, and here's the storm to the mountains. You see the storm dissipating across the northern areas, as they kind of did. And then tonight around 11, and then form into like and move southeast. And by tomorrow morning, we're clear around the area. So moving.
Interesting that you show that, Ricky. Let me pull up GR here right quick. Starting to get some redevelopment back over Kentucky again.
Yeah,
Northern Eastern Kentucky, and even back from Columbus down to Cincinnati.
Daniel, can you freeze that at the last frame?
Yeah, I can do that, and I'll zoom in a little bit on it too. I'll kind of zoom in to where we're on the far southern part.
And if you can see from Maysville to just out of Lexington, those look to be trying to form a line there from Maysville to just north of Somerset and then into Bowling Green. So that might be the quasi-linear line of storms that we had first thought was going to be coming through. And actually, you look up to Columbus, Ohio. That's another line.
Yeah.
This meso discussion. So here's your moment of weather geek coming up here in a minute. I'll try to describe it and show you on the map as it happens. So what they're worried about is, in this area up here, they're worried about more discrete storms developing. And as that happens, the reason for that is going to be a nice baroclinic zone and motion across the area in an area of stronger surface heating. So let's go ahead and turn on what we call most unstable CAPE, and we'll see here. I'll put the circle area on. There you go. So notice how the CAPE numbers, 2,000 joules of CAPE in the circle after the storms have moved through. So that's one thing. And we also have some mid-level forcing moving in. This is what we call 500 millibar relative vorticity. And look at the portions of Michigan. The Great Lakes region, that's helping to trigger these storms around Cincinnati and Columbus as it goes at kind of a vortex or a short wave in the trough moving into the area. That usually helps to further them as they move into the favorable development. Mid-level lapse rate, high boundary layer moisture, large hail and CAPE in the presence of vertical shear. So what that means in layman's terms is let's look at the dew points. I'll turn actual dew. Here we go. Look at all for dew. So that's one of the reasons those storms have just been able to get going and continue to go to areas. And so they say that should remain the case for at least a few more hours beyond 0 with the risk of loss. This is a parameter we have called significant tornado parameter, and it kind of combines a lot of the parameters. Most favorable. Notice STP up to a 3 across earlier, and tracking off southeast storms that are just forming and continuing to build. And then we have another parameter which we call the supercell composite parameter, and you note how high it is across portions of eastern Carolina near Hickory and Greensboro, where that watch is in effect, and once again in that region as well. So all parameters look like they're supportive of more severe weather across Kentucky, moving into the Tennessee mountains, storms redeveloping, and then tracking towards them. And I'm not sure anything showed when I did that, did it?
No, your connection's a little spotty.
I also clicked on Daniel to make sure his has shown up before. All right. Is the map coming across now?
No.
No.
We'll switch it off and turn it back on. How about now?
No.
Well, I'm just bad luck tonight.
I guess and something else that maybe we can touch on for a little bit is we could see some heavy rain out of these storms as well, and that could bring in some flooding potentials as we go throughout the evening.
Yeah, especially across the mountains, you know, all that
Yeah, I
storms
would
seem
agree
to
with
die
that,
and they
Scotty.
hang around out there.
Hey, let me see if we can do this, Ricky. We weren't able to see what you were showing us, but I'm going to try to pull up the parameters that you were talking about. Maybe you can go through it again as we talk about it.
Hey, one thing I do want to update on right quick. I'm looking at some data. I'm looking at the storms back over in Greene County, Tennessee, and we're quickly making an approach for Madison County, North Carolina. And on the radar we've got here, there's a couple meso symbols starting to show up, and some pretty decent looking meso indicators to the south of Greenville, to the southwest of Greenville. And that area just looks like it's getting ready to hit Madison, Haywood, Jackson, Swain County. So, you know, if we have any viewers in the far western part of the state, in the Smokies, things are going to really pick up for you in the next half hour. And they are moving, I guess you could probably call it east-southeast. I don't know if it's really true southeast, but they're moving us a little bit south of due east, and they're going to affect that area. If it holds together, it could affect Asheville, maybe sometime during the 9 o'clock hour. And then for my followers here in McDowell County, we'll have to watch it also after that.
This is what Ricky was talking about. One of them, at least, the significant tornado parameter. And as you can see back up here over Kentucky, it's at a 4, and that's pretty large number anywhere in the country. And then another little area of 3 right here in Southwest Virginia. And then as you go into Western North Carolina, you have McDowell, Burke, Catawba, Iredell, down into Lincoln, and parts of Gaston with a 2, and then a kind of a bullseye right here just outside of Iredell County with a 3 and a 4. So that will be an area that we'll have to watch as well. Here's the significant hail parameters, as well as you can see an elevated area here in Western North Carolina. Then over here to the precipitable water, and as you can see, these storms are saturated with moisture anywhere between 1.5 inches to almost 2 inches of available water that could dump out of these storms. So that'll be another thing that we'll have to watch as the evening wears on, is the chances for some flooding.
Rick or Scotty is talking about flash flood potential. The cell we had earlier, it went to the Tri-Cities. If you look at it here on Doppler rainfall estimate, I'll pull up right quick. Showing a pretty good trail of moisture. Now, some of that might be influenced by the hail that fell in that area. But, I mean, you're getting, along track of these storms, you're getting pretty good rainfall totals. This kind of lighter blue area is in excess of 1 inch. I'll zoom a little bit. Around Elk Sugar Mountain, that's over 1 inch. Up around Elizabethton, Tennessee, there's actually 1.5 inches just to the east of Elizabethton.
Yeah. Daniel, if you don't mind, just I'm going to try to pull up my radar here, and we're going to have to watch, see what the National Weather Service does here in the next couple of minutes or so. That storm that we've been watching over Caldwell County has popped up a hail icon of 0.75 inch in diameter hail that is over downtown Lenore right now. So we're going to have to see if that's going to warrant a warning, because that is getting into the area where thunderstorm warnings are issued. So we'll have to watch that as the next couple of minutes go by.
Yeah, I mean, that cell's looking the best it's looked since it come off the mountain over an hour ago. And eastern Caldwell County, you're kind of under the gun on that. And anybody we have in Alexander County, Taylorsville, Stony Point area, I'll be on the lookout for that. Might be a growing hail threat and definitely some heavy rain.
And that might be it. Yeah, severe thunderstorm warning is issued for Alexander, Catawba, Iredell, and Caldwell County.
National Weather Service has issued a severe thunderstorm warning.
Severe thunderstorm warning is in effect until 8:45.
All right, I reset everything, so I may be back now. Mike coming across?
Yes.
Just had a loud rumble of thunder here at my house here in western McDowell, and I'm just looking at the radar, and it's starting to flare up on the eastern slopes a little bit.
Yeah, this severe thunderstorm warning that just got issued, the majority thing is for hail.
I tell you, Sky, don't want to try to predict these things too early or too quick, but I would be on the lookout if you're in Alexander and eventually Iredell County. Well, we'll include Caldwell in on that too, but just kind of looking down the road a little bit, maybe in the next 30 minutes to an hour. As you showed a few minutes ago, that tornado parameter.
Hey, Daniel, I'll just hold that thought for 1 second. This storm is showing signs of rotation, and if it does continue within the next couple of frames, a tornado warning will be issued on this storm.
That's where I was going, Scotty. I mean, this, like I said a few minutes ago, this is looking the best it's looked since it crossed the mountain a couple hours ago. And it's going to start feeding into that tornado parameter you showed earlier that's a little bit elevated.
Right.
People in Caldwell, I would even throw northern Catawba in on that. Alexander.